Today on an all-new Dr. Phil.
You believe your brother is dead because of your father's actions.
I think he should be in prison for life.
A tragic death.
How did he go from getting a bruise on his hip to dying?
The parents charged.
You are a nurse. You said his right heel was black. His body covered in purple dots. But you took a nap.
I didn't know he was going to die.
Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Stand by. We'll count you down.
I'm trying to be an emotional compass and point you in the right direction.
5, 4.
I am not giving up on you. Rebecca says her mother, Jennifer, was loving, caring, and her best friend. But now Jennifer is being charged with first-degree criminal abuse in the death of her 10-year-old son, Dominic, who died from an overdose of hydrocodone and sepsis. Now, even though Jennifer is a registered nurse, she lost custody of her minor children, who are now being raised by Aunt Marty. Now, shockingly, Dominic was not the only child to die mysteriously in Rebecca's family. Years before, their 2-month-old baby Ezekiel died of SIDS when in their father's care. Rebecca also says her mother did not protect her from her father, whom she claims beat her with a paddle and refused to allow her to go to the hospital when she had a staph infection. These are claims that her father, of course, denies. Now, Rebecca says her mother spends no time with her children and all of her time trying to get her husband out of jail. Take a look.
I believe my mom has chosen my father over my siblings and me. I hate my father because he's abusive. When I was 12, my dad barged in my room with a paddle and started hitting me with it. He's demanding and very controlling. My mom beat my brother with a belt because my dad told her to. I was 7 when my 3-month-old brother passed away. We were staying in a hotel. My father was in bed with my baby brother. I woke up to my mom doing compressions on my newborn baby brother. She was at work when Ezekiel died. I blame my dad for his death. If he had gotten a job, my mom wouldn't have to work herself to death. And then, a year and a half ago, my 10-year-old brother Dom died. Dom's death was caused by an overdose of prescription pain pills. My mom and dad were both giving him my mom's prescription pain pills. I blame my dad for my brother's death. After my brother died, CPS took me and my 2 siblings away. My parents are being charged in my brother Dom's death. My father is currently in jail. My mom has spent all her money on an attorney to help get my dad out of jail. My mom has given up on us. It seems like her only focus is to get him out of jail. I am angry at my mom. My mom is a registered nurse, and 2 of my brothers died under questionable circumstances. I want my mom to leave my father and take care of her children.
Okay, Rebecca, first off, I'm very sorry for your loss here. Obviously, you've lost your 10-year-old brother and you've lost your 2-month-old brother. That's terrible for you to go through, and I'm very sorry for your loss about that. How long ago did your 10-year-old brother Dominic die?
About 1.5 years ago.
And in your opinion, did he have to die?
No.
Was this avoidable?
Very much so.
And why do you think he died?
Because my dad wasn't paying attention to his sickness. He was only caring about himself.
And he was sick in what way?
He got like a staph infection. And he just was in so much pain, and my dad was only thinking about his own needs instead of my brother's.
And your mother's a nurse, so obviously you would think that she would recognize if he was in need of care. Why did she not react to this?
I think the reason she didn't notice how sick he was because she's working so much. And when she wasn't working, she was coming home and she was sleeping and then doing what my dad wanted her.
Does he dominate her?
Very much.
You believe that your brother is dead because of your father's actions?
Yes.
And he's in jail? And you think he should be?
I think he should be in prison for life.
Okay. And your mother is, you're saying that she's not focused on or paying attention to you children because she is obsessed with getting him out of jail. So what is she not doing with you guys? What is she neglecting to do?
The whole just being a mom and being there for her kids. It seems like after my little brother Dom died, it's like her other kids died with him.
Give me an idea of what it was like living in the home with your father and your mother leading up to this. You say it was very chaotic and very hostile.
Me and my brother would get into fistfights, and my dad would chase my brother around the house to beat him.
Did he yell at you? Did he scream at you? What happened?
He would get like this close to your face, like an inch from your face, and scream at you as loud as he can. And he'd act like he'd go to hit you, but he wouldn't. He wouldn't hit me.
But he's like right here screaming at you.
Mm-hmm.
Where's your mother when this is going on?
Either she's sleeping, sitting on the couch, or working.
But she saw this happening.
She does see it happen, yeah.
And did she do anything to stop it?
Sometimes she would get in his face for it, other times she wouldn't.
Was he abusive with her?
Very.
Did he go to jail for that?
Multiple times.
Okay, for domestic violence. Sometimes for months at a time, right? But she's fighting to get him out of jail. Do you know why?
No, I don't. Because she still has her 4 kids left, and she has more to live for than she thinks.
Well, Rebecca says her mother has neglected her and her siblings and spends all of her time trying to get her husband out of jail. Now, we've just said this has not been a tranquil home. This has not been a smooth road. So if this is an abusive husband, if it is an abusive father, if he is even suspect of being responsible for the death of this child, why is she working so hard to get him out of jail? We're going to ask her about that because we're going to meet her right after the break.
I refuse to choose between my children and my husband. I do not blame me or my husband for Dom's death. When Joe was taken to jail, the kids went to foster care. My children should not have been removed. They were never in danger. I will not give up on Joe. He is my soulmate.
And later, his body is now covered in blue and purple dots. I took a nap.
I worked 12-hour nights. I had to work again that night. I didn't know he was gonna die.
Tomorrow,
I spent most of my early childhood locked up in a cage.
11 children
It was food deprivation. One child was eating wood.
adopted by this couple
They were treating these kids as less than animals.
survived a house of horrors.
You said you were held underwater at times.
I witnessed my parents shoving a sock down my sister's throat.
You take kids, lock them in cages. What type of person are you? Are you human?
Then on Thursday, is she a danger to her baby?
Did you threaten to jump off a bridge with your daughter?
I did not.
Be honest with me.
We are not the enemy here. Okay, goodbye.
That's Thursday.
My mom puts my father over the needs of her own children. When I found out that Dom had died, I felt hopeless. I don't think his death was an accident. 2 of my brothers died under questionable circumstances. Dr. Phil, I am desperate for your help.
Rebecca says her mother, Jennifer, has always put her husband, who is currently incarcerated, before the needs and safety of her children. You just heard what she said on the tape, and you were aghast. What's your reaction to what she said?
We shouldn't have been taken from the home. I honestly think it was a good thing we were taken from the home, because what would have happened next? Another one of us died?
Jennifer says even though her husband punched her in the head and broke a towel rack over her forearm, she is still in love with him and wants her family back together, including him. Take a look.
I refuse to choose between my children and my husband. I love my husband and I love my kids. Throughout our marriage, Joe has been arrested at least 4 times. for domestic abuse. He would pull me by the hair and punch me in the head. Joe would whip the kids with the belt or his hand. I saw him hit my son with a shot bagpipe once. Our son Ezekiel died March of 2007. Joe swears he was not drunk when Ezekiel died. I do not believe it. Part of me does blame Joe for Ezekiel's death. Then, just 2 years ago, my 10-year-old son died. Dom died from an overdose of hydrocodone and sepsis. I worked night shifts. When I came home, Dominic was really pale and had bluish purple dots all over his whole body. I took my shower and took a nap. I'm asleep, and then Joe is with Dom in the bathroom. And then Joe sat Dom in the chair next to our bed, and he yelled at me that something was wrong with Dominic. I threw him on the end of the bed and started CPR, but it was too late. I do not blame me or my husband for Dom's death. When Joe was taken to jail, the kids went to foster care. My children should not have been removed. They were never in danger. I stay with Joe because I believe he does love me, and I believe he can change. I will not give up on Joe if he's insult me. I want my kids to know that I love their dad, and I still love them too. And I believe that we can be a family again.
Well, you've heard Rebecca's reaction to a lot of that. Now, Jennifer's daughter, Emily, says life in their home was constant chaos. She was covered in bruises because her father would freak out over nothing, and her mother rarely protected her because she was too tired to deal with it. Let's hear from her.
I did not have a good childhood. I was abused by my father. The abuse was daily. He beat all of his kids and my mom. One night, he came in my room and started hitting me with a belt. He repeatedly told me to get out of his house and to leave. I was kicked out of the house. I don't like to seem like I'm throwing my dad under the bus, because he's not all bad. It's the thing, I always forgive him. I love my dad more than anything.
Okay, Jennifer, Emily, I'm glad you're here. Did you see him abusing your children?
Yes.
And did he abuse you?
Yes.
Why are you so focused on getting him out of jail?
Our property is in his name, and I can't get money for a criminal lawyer unless he co-signs, so I don't go to prison.
You say that he's pulled your hair and punched you in the head, and you say he punches you in the head so it doesn't leave bruises.
That was when he was drinking. He quit drinking in 2008.
Was he drinking when Ezekiel died?
Yes.
Do you have suspicions that that contributed to his death?
I did till I talked to the coroner.
And the coroner can't explain it, so the default is SIDS.
Right. There was no sign of suffocation.
And you understand that that's a default, right?
Right.
Answer me this. Why was it okay with you for him to abuse your children?
How could I stop him?
Leave him? Don't go back to him?
Let's talk about the abuse here, because we have a list of allegations of abuse according to Rebecca, that he's beat her with a paddle, chased his son across the house and beat him. Did he actually talk you into and force you into beating your son with a belt?
Yes.
You didn't want to do this, did you?
No.
And he talked you into picking up a weapon and attacking your child?
Yes.
Does that tell you that something is way to hell out of whack with your soulmate?
Yes.
And then according to Emily, that he beat the children daily, hit with a belt, had bruises all over back and legs, hit, slapped, punched, had things thrown at her, backhanded for saying one wrong word.
He would not just beat her. He would actually physically put his hands around her throat and choke her.
At that point in time, Dad was taking psychological meds, and he was drinking alcohol on top of that, and he would black out.
So
and
that gives an excuse?
He apologized for that now that he's sober.
Gives no excuse, Emily. He's tried to kill you.
We're actually going to talk to him and find out what he has to say when we come back. Your two daughters are both saying that you were both emotionally and physically abusive.
They already know the truth. You're just making a fool of yourself.
And later, he's now gasping for breath. He's now into the death rattle. You've had a nap, Joe's had some coffee, and your son is dying. You are sitting next to a predator.
I'm 18. I'm trying to get my needs met.
You molested me, and that's not the way to go about it.
You burned your wedding dress in front of your children.
You don't deserve to see your children.
You don't deserve to tell me what I deserve, period.
I have a crazy, obsessed stalker living in my home.
Did you threaten to jump off a bridge with your daughter?
I did not. I'm not going to be character assassinated anymore. Who wants to compete with your own?
We're not the enemy here.
Okay, goodbye.
Did you pick her up in carpool drunk?
I did not.
You mowed down 3 neighbors' mailboxes. It's time for you to grow up, lady. Look me in the eye and say, I am sick to death of this crap, or you get off of my stage.
My Aunt Marty is a control freak like my dad is a control freak. She thinks my dad's gonna be a bad guy forever. I feel like my Aunt Marty is dividing our family.
My Aunt Marty saved me from foster care. I don't know what my life would be like without her. She's a better mom to me right now than my real mom is.
Marty's been there for us. She's a good mom to them when I can't be. My husband doesn't think so.
Well, Aunt Marty took in 3 of her sister-in-law Jennifer's children after Child Protective Services removed them from the home following the death of her 10-year-old son, Dominic, who died under very suspicious circumstances, at least from an overdose. Marty says Jennifer has become a selfish, uncaring, thoughtless, neglectful mother. who spends all of her time trying to get her husband, Joseph, out of jail. Marty, thank you for being here. We have Joseph on the phone. Joseph, are you there?
Yes, I am. I'm rather shocked at what I'm hearing.
Okay, what's shocking you the most?
Well, I knew my sister was manipulative and vindictive and that she's had a vendetta against me for years, but I didn't realize she'd go to these lengths.
Joseph, we're talking to you right now from jail, correct?
Yes.
Do you anticipate being charged for wrongdoing in his death?
Oh, yes. The day that the wife went to court and they thought they were going to drop the lawsuit, she said, no, we need time to get another attorney. At 2 o'clock that afternoon, you know, that was 9:30 in the morning. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, she got a charge of child abuse, and at 3 o'clock they brought me a charge. They got a hold on me for that, too.
Okay, well, the medical examiner's report for your son says that there was acute hydrocodone intoxication, and that there was multi-system healing and septic emboli and abscesses, uncertain source, and that there was involvement of the lungs, the myocardium, and the skin. So what they're saying is that there was an overdose of hydrocodone and that this child was septic.
If someone's septic, their kidneys and their liver do not function properly, and it didn't break down the hydrocodone into hydromorphone like it was supposed to.
So Joseph, how did he get so much hydrocodone in his system?
The only thing I can say is that, you know, one of the research that we've done is that the liver and the kidneys did shut down. He hadn't had a hydrocodone in 6 hours by the time he woke up.
Well, the medical report also said that the parents had been giving the decedent their own hydrocodone once the hip pain began prior to his prescription. So were y'all giving him hydrocodone that he was not prescribed?
I was not, and I'm not aware of that.
Well, he was getting it somewhere.
I gave him a half of one of my pills, which is 5 milligrams, when he was screaming in his sleep, crying because he was in so much pain. One time. And then the doctor gave us a prescription for it. The same thing.
Joseph, one of the things that Emily and Rebecca are both saying, that when you were all together as a family, when everyone was living under one roof, that you were both emotionally and physically abusive to these girls and to their siblings. True or false?
There was a point in time after Ezekiel's death where I did quite a bit of heavy drinking. You know, I was in the impression that we were going to bring that medical negligence case to light here. You know, that my son should still be breathing.
That didn't answer the question.
Well, Joseph, what I'm trying to bring to light is what are the circumstances that were going on in the home, and in a medical negligence case, all of these things will be brought to light. I'm not saying that it contributed to his death. I'm just asking if it's true.
Depends on your outlook.
Literally chasing somebody around the house with a belt or a paddle to beat them. That's not child abuse?
And when does this allegedly happen?
Seriously? You don't remember? They already know the truth. You're just making a fool of yourself.
Dad did admit to doing something, so he's not saying
Right now, he's saying he did not abuse us.
Joseph, Marty claims that there were times when you did refuse to take your children to the hospital. Is that true?
What exactly is she talking about?
I believe she had the same thing Dominic died from.
I had a staph infection, and you would not let me go to the doctor. You just, because I was getting boils under my arms, you said just pop it in the shower, it'll be fine. Mom, you finally allowed Mama to take me to the doctor after she begged you, and they sent me in for emergency surgery the next morning because they said I could have died.
I never physically saw the boil. I was under the impression it was a zit. I did not know it was that severe.
No, I had a staph infection that could have killed me. And it should be me who was dead, not Dom. Would you have been happier then?
No one's happy about losing any children.
Joe, if you don't admit to the abuse, then how can we heal?
Are you afraid that he has control over you and will get you to do things you don't want to do?
Yeah.
Joseph, if you were released from jail tomorrow and you were out, you realize that your children have been removed from the home, correct?
Yes.
And what would be the basis for bringing them back?
Well, those are legal issues that I'm certainly not qualified to answer.
Well, he thinks he could just drive them kids whenever he feels like it.
I provided them a home. I've given them bottom ball equipment, band equipment, anything that they've wanted to do in life. I've done my best to support them. And a lot of these things I'm hearing right now for the first time.
Jennifer, do you think that this family should be together under one roof?
Eventually. Joseph and I should have marriage counseling.
Are you afraid of your husband?
No.
Are you afraid that he has control over you and will get you to do things you don't want to do?
Yes.
And what are you afraid of?
I am afraid that he hasn't changed. That he's just talking because he's in jail.
I've never heard Rebecca talk this way before.
That's a lie.
No, it isn't.
Well, Joseph, I guess part of the that you've missed here is that Emily has said that she loves you very much, that she wants this family reunified, but she acknowledges that you have hit her, that you have beaten her, that you have left bruises on her. Your wife Jennifer has said that you punch her in the head so it doesn't leave marks, that you control her and dominate her. And then there's the issue as to whether or not you, through negligence, contributed to the death of your son.
Joe, if you don't admit to the abuse, then how can we heal? Because I want help for our family, but we all have to admit to what we've done.
I thought that 5 milligrams was how much was on the bottle.
That's not what we're talking about
bringing
right
up
now.
other stuff.
Joseph, you say clearly, and I want to be sure that you have the opportunity to say this, you say, and I quote, "I'm not responsible for the death of my 10-year-old son, and neither is my wife."
That's right.
How did he go from getting a bruise on his hip to dying? We have a 10-year-old that goes from saying that he can't walk. You're having to put him in the bathtub. He's slumping down into the water. You're having to dress him. And he absolutely shuts down and stops breathing to the point that you have to do CPR. This didn't happen across a couple of minutes, and you were with him the entire day. Did you not see any signs of his deterioration throughout the day?
We were asleep until Jumper came home. And then we woke up, we gave him one Vicodin, he wanted to soak in a tub. His mind was clear.
He asked if he could take an Epsom salt bath.
Okay, so we have a 10-year-old on medication making the decisions about what the treatment course should be. Is that what you're telling me?
Okay, then what you're really telling me is that not only am I a bad parent, but that I could actually be liable in some way.
No, I'm asking you what happened. I'm asking you what your state of mind was and what your thought process was at the time. I don't know. I wasn't there. I'm trying to find out what your thought process was.
We didn't know he was going to die.
Of course you didn't know he was going to die. Joseph, you think this is medical malpractice.
By the time we left, I was in tears. I'm asking him, why is my son telling me he's hot when his skin is ice cold? And the doctor refused to even put his hand on him to see that his skin was cold. We told him that he'd been spiking fevers, that he's complaining that his torso is hurting. Dominic kept motioning from his chest to his belly, everything aches.
So what is the theory of the law enforcement that they've charged the two of you?
I thought it was just because we were trying to sue this doctor. You don't think it's a little bit suspect that at 9:30 in the morning, my wife says, no, we're not dropping this lawsuit. In fact, we want time to find a different attorney. And at 2 o'clock that same day, she's arrested for this. And at 3 o'clock, I get an arrest warrant for it.
They're basically charging us because he and a history of abuse, so they think he abused him. And while I was at work, I left my child in the care of someone that I knew could abuse him.
But Joseph, you think it's retribution for filing a civil suit?
I think that has a lot to do with it.
Joseph, thank you. I have some questions for this nurse after the break.
Tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phil. Adopted and forced to sleep in cages.
They were treating these kids as less than animals.
They were brutal, crazy.
There's food deprivation. One child was eating wood.
That's tomorrow.
We do pre-interviews, right? We ask you a lot of questions.
Yes.
And we record these with your permission. And one of the things we recorded was your version of what happened the day Dominic died. You say, I went to work and then returned home at 8:30 a.m. and noticed Dom was pale and had blue dots all over him. And I said, oh my God, he needs to go to the hospital. Those blue dots tell you that he's leaking blood under his skin. He's going septic, right?
Yeah.
I went to the bathroom and took a shower.
I had issues. I had patient isolation. I had to get the maid clothes off, and
I understand.
I don't want to bring those germs home.
Okay, you understand. I understand that you were saying that this was not hygienic for you because you had been in a compromised situation.
Yeah.
And this is my point. You've got a 10-year-old child with signs of sepsis, and you're worried about what you've got on the front of your uniform. He was so weak, I told him we need to take him to the doctor. He says he wanted to take a bath.
Yeah.
He's on hydrocodone, and he's 10. He's not a nurse, but you are. He could not walk. He's now non-ambulatory. So Joe helped me get him in the bathtub. I noticed his right heel was black. Okay, you notice that again as a nurse. The heel is the furthest distance from his heart, correct?
That's the same heel I told the doctor he was complaining of pain in. The doctor wouldn't even touch it.
Where's the first place it's going to show up if his circulation is failing?
His limbs.
You notice the rash. His body is now covered in blue and purple dots. While Dom was in the tub, I took a nap.
I worked 12-hour nights. I had to work again that night. I didn't know he was going to die.
Of course you didn't know he was going to die.
You don't know what you would have done in all this situation.
I know what I wouldn't have done. So then Joe gets him out and puts him in a chair in our bedroom in a big towel. And Joe was trying to get him dressed because he cannot dress himself. Right? He can't dress himself because he's lost motor control. Dom says, let me just rest here for a minute. So Joe goes and gets him a cup of coffee. I come back. He's now gasping for breath. Agonal breaths. He's now into the death rattle. You've had a nap. Joe's had some coffee. And your son is dying. You start CPR and won't stop until they show you he's flatlined. And then it hits you. He's gone.
I can see it now. I wish I'd done everything different.
And your husband's telling you that they're filing this criminal charges against you because it's That's retribution for a civil suit.
That's not why, and I know that. I say I shouldn't be a nurse, and I shouldn't be a mom.
So where do we go from here? There are other children in this family, and God bless Marty for stepping up. You said, I shouldn't be a nurse, I shouldn't be a mother. I have a different version of that. You need to be a better nurse. You need to be a better mother. It starts by owning your history and owning your mistakes and recognizing that you are in a toxic relationship with a toxic partner that has taken control of you, has taken your self-esteem, has taken your self-worth, and has dominated you to the point that you are willing to stand by passively and watch your children be abused and even be coerced into abusing your own children. So that means you can't be in that relationship and trust yourself to make good judgments. Do you understand what I'm saying about that?
Yes.
You are the victim of abuse here. Abuse is not just getting beat on. My wife has an entire foundation devoted to this, When Georgia Smiled. And one of her missions is to empower and help women just like you that are trapped and caught in this. Robin has developed an entire curriculum to lead people through this called the Aspire Initiative, correct?
Yes, it is an interactive program on our site, whengeorgiasmiled.org. And you can go through it, the entire program in the privacy of your own home, alone, by yourself, or it is being used in classrooms across the country, across the world. It is in English and Spanish. Of course, it's free. And it does identify if you're in an abusive relationship, if you are being abused, if you're an abuser. Because a lot of times different people grow up in that situation and do not even know if they're an abuser or if they're being abused.
My first assignment is for the three of you to sit down and work through the Aspire Initiative, and then I am going to send you somewhere. I am going to send you to a place called Onsite, where they do customized workshops for people that have been through trauma. We consider Onsite a trusted resource for anyone struggling with trauma, self-worth, self-esteem, and mental health issues. You have children here that still need their mother. They need all of their mother. Now, I'm willing to make this commitment and work through this with you. Are you willing to work?
Yes, I am.
Coming up, last year, a single father promised he would quit smoking, but did he put down the cigarettes for good? Well, we're going to find out next. Want to know what's coming up on Dr. Phil? Visit our website and subscribe to our email newsletter. You'll get weekly updates, life strategies, and exclusive video that you won't find anywhere else.
Plus, on drphil.com, you can see sneak previews of upcoming shows. Log on today.
Last year, we met Chad, a single father of a 10-year-old little girl who just could not quit smoking cigarettes. Now, Chad had been smoking since he was 14 years old, but after a 25-year addiction, he said he wanted to quit for himself and for his young daughter. Take a look when Chad was last here.
My smoking habit controls my life. I am a full-time dad raising my 10-year-old daughter. The person I most want to quit smoking for would be my daughter, but I don't have the strength.
Why do you think you haven't quit?
The cravings get to be too strong. And I try and hold it off, but can never make it more than a day.
You're not the first person that has ever had to wrestle with this. You've got that sweet little girl who thinks the world of you. You can do this for her. You can do it for you. Well, Chad left here determined to stop smoking, but did he? Let's find out.
I quit smoking and I was doing great for 4 months. It didn't last long. Those darn cravings came back again. What triggered me to start smoking again was the people around me were smoking. My work environment definitely contributed to me smoking again. And I was missing the routine of having the cigarette in the morning, the one before you go to bed. When I had the first hit of the cigarette, I was hooked again. My greatest fear if I don't stop smoking would be that my daughter watches me go through a very long and painful death. I felt a little bit of shame for failing to quit smoking, but I'm willing to try again, and hopefully this time it works.
Well, Chad, welcome back.
Thank you.
So you stopped smoking for how long? 4 months?
Just short of 4 months.
That's an important accomplishment. Even if you did relapse, it does show you can do it, right?
Well, yes.
All right, how were you able to quit?
Just stayed away from it. Had my family hold me accountable, and then I started sneaking cigarettes.
I want to break this down because it is important for you to acknowledge and recognize you did have the ability to stop for 4 months, because that means it's within your behavioral repertoire to not do it. Now, your daughter, now 11 years old, has been trying to get you to quit for years. What did she say about you when you started smoking again?
She said, I guess we got to go see Dr. Phil again.
Yeah, okay. And here you are.
Yeah.
Now, Chad, I want you to watch this CDC, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention video. It's about a young lady who couldn't quit smoking either. Now, this is Amanda's story. Take a look.
I was smoking every day by 8th grade. Everyone in my family smoked. Smoking has caused a lot of pain in my life. I had my first child 2 months early. My dad has stage 4 lung cancer, and I have 3 kids. And I know that my 1-year-old might not ever remember her grandpa. And now I have quit smoking.
So, Amanda, thank you for being here. Please meet Chad.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, Chad.
All right. So, Amanda, you continued smoking for 5 years after your baby was born premature, right?
I did.
Tell me why.
Well, my body was addicted to nicotine. It's a very powerful substance.
Yeah, and it really gets a grip on you physically and psychologically. But you stopped smoking 5 years ago. What finally got you to quit?
I knew that I wanted to be a better influence on my kids. I didn't want them to start smoking.
What advice can you give him as someone that has succeeded for 5 years?
Quitting smoking is similar to riding a bike. You're learning new skills, you're learning new things about yourself, even if you fall off. So I would really encourage you to get up and try again. I know you can do it.
Thank you. The cravings get too strong, and I put myself in bad environments.
Avoiding those places that pull for smoking, making sure you don't have them easily available to you. And Chad, the CDC wants you and anyone else out there trying to quit to know that there are more former smokers than there are current smokers. Quitting is hard, but it's definitely within reach. Now, quitting smoking at any age has benefits, and trust me, it is never too late. My mother smoked her entire life, and she quit in her 40s and lived into her 80s. And you can always call the CDC helpline at 1-800-QUIT-NOW. Now, take a minute and think about what I just said. 1-800-QUIT-NOW. Everybody say it with me. 1-800-QUIT-NOW. Okay? You'll be directed to a quit line in your state. And if you or someone you love is like Chad, desperate to stop smoking, go to cdc.gov/tips for great information on how to quit. They give you all kinds of tips and information. And Chad, you say you want to quit smoking for your daughter's sake, and you did it for 4 months. Use that as a springboard. Can you really stop this time for her and for yourself? You can do this, right?
Yes, I believe I can. I've told myself that I'm going to quit one day. I just want the day to come quicker than it is.
Yeah, and one day turns into 2, then that turns into weeks, then months, then years, and you're there 5 years, right?
Yeah.
All right, Chad, we're wishing you all the best, that you succeed this time, and most importantly, never quit trying. Don't do it for a month, do it until. Chad and Amanda, I want to thank you both for being here. I want to thank all of my guests today. We'll see you next time. Thanks so much.